I'm excited to welcome you to the absolute best video on the Typeof operator you'll find anywhere on YouTube. In this video, I cover everything you need to know in detail and use interactive animations, beautiful illustrations, and professional editing to ensure you remain engaged in order to maximize your learning. So let's jump in. Now, before we discuss the Typeof operator, we need to have an understanding of the concept of typed languages. Programming languages are either statically typed or dynamically typed, depending on how they handle variables. So to understand this, let's first look at a statically typed language. An example of a statically typed language is C#. In C#, you do need to define the type of variable when it is declared. And it looks like this. In C#, when declaring a variable which contains a number, we need to use the int keyword, standing for integer. So int total equals 50. So the keyword int is specifically used to declare a variable that holds a number. If we wanted to declare a variable which holds a string, we need to use the string keyword. So the keyword string is being used here to declare a variable that holds a string. And then finally, to declare a variable which holds a Boolean value, we would use the keyword bool. So bool return flight equals true. So the bool keyword is used to declare a variable holding a Boolean value. This is very different to a dynamically typed language like JavaScript, where in JavaScript, we do not need to define the type of variable when it is declared. We just use let or const. So for example, we have let total equals 50, where the variable total is storing a number value. We could have let name equals the string Daniel, where name is storing a string value. And we could have let return flight equals true, where return flight is holding a Boolean value. So JavaScript allows us just to use the let keyword or the const keyword to declare a variable to hold any kind of primitive value. It's very different to a statically typed language where you need to use a specific keyword depending on the value being stored in the variable. Now, because JavaScript is dynamically typed, it means that we can always change the type of value stored in a variable. For example, let's say we have let total equals the number 50. I can always change this variable to store any kind of primitive value. For example, I could change let total equal the string 50. If I now look at the value total, you can see it contains a string 50. There's no problem doing this inside a dynamically typed language. Inside a statically typed language like C#, you just couldn't do this because the variable always needs to contain the type of value it was initially declared with. So this now brings us to the Typeof operator. The Typeof operator returns the data type of a value or variable. It looks like this. Let's say we have the variable let age equal 34. We can use the Typeof operator followed by the variable age, and we would get back the string number, signifying that the variable age is storing a number. Now it's important to note that the Typeof operator is always returned as a string. So let's go play around with this inside the console. To start off, I'm just going to be using the Typeof operator directly on values. Let's do type of 23. We get back the string number. I'll do type of the string hello, and we get back the string string. I'll do type of true. We get back the string Boolean. Let's do type of undefined. We get back the string undefined. And let's do type of null. We get back the string object. Now, what is going on there? There's a long story behind this, but it has to do with a quirk in JavaScript from the language's early days. Because of this behavior, we typically don't use the Typeof operator on a null value. Let me clear the console. Let's now go apply the Typeof operator on variables. I'll declare a variable let name equal the string Daniel, and I'll go type of name, and we get back the string string. If I do let age equal 34, and I do type of age, I get back the string number. If I declare the variable let is admin equal true, if I go type of is admin, I get back the string Boolean. All right, let me just clear the console. Now, in order to see where the Typeof operator is useful, I'm going to go access a variable I haven't yet declared. I'll type address and hit enter, and you'll see I get this uncaught reference error. Address is not defined. We're getting this error because we haven't yet declared a variable called address. So let's now talk about using the Typeof operator. The Typeof operator can be used to check if a variable exists before using it without causing errors. Let's discuss the example we just saw when an error is thrown. What we can do to check if a variable exists before using it is directly compare the value of the variable to undefined, which will throw a reference error if the variable is undeclared. So that would look like this. If address is strictly equal to the value undefined, we could output to the console variable is undefined. So let's go check this out. So I've gone ahead and set up an index.html file and linked a JavaScript file script.js, which is currently empty. So I'm just going to paste what I have sitting in my clipboard, which is the code we just saw. Let's check this out in the console. You can see that when we execute this, we just get a reference error with nothing actually outputted to the console. This is not good because it means our program could break. Now, the reason we'd want to implement this kind of logic, even though it's not working, is that address may be used in our program later on. So for example, we might have console.log, grabbing temporary literals, ship to, and then adding in the value address. So what we're trying to do here is prevent an error. That is, if address doesn't exist, we want to print out variable is undefined, so that we can go and define it in order to output this to the console. But you can see using this method, we're just getting back an error, which isn't helpful. So let's now look at how we can use the Typeof operator to have no error thrown. The Typeof operator checks the type of the variable without trying to access its value. So the reason the code on the left is breaking is that we're trying to access the value stored in address, but address doesn't exist, so we just get an error. But using the Typeof operator, we can write our if statement like this. If type of address strictly equals the string undefined, we can print to the console variable is undefined. And this won't throw an error. Now, the reason undefined inside our equality comparison is a string is because we've seen that the Typeof operator always returns a string. So the equality comparison needs to be a string value as well. So let's go play around with this in VS Code. So I'm now going to update this condition to be type of address equals the string undefined. I'll refresh and watch what happens now. We get back variable is undefined. This reference error is just being caused by this console.log over here. I'll comment that out, I'll refresh, and you can see now we're not actually getting an error thrown. This is really helpful because it means our program won't break if the variable address doesn't exist. Now, of course, if I add this back in, we are still going to get an error for this because we're trying to still access the value of address in our console.log. But address simply doesn't exist. In a real-world project, we wouldn't just be outputting to the console variable is undefined. We'd be performing additional logic in order to actually set the value of this variable. I just had this here earlier to show you that later on in our program, we do actually want to use the variable address. Now, this all may seem super overwhelming, doing these checks if a variable exists. This idea more falls within the topic of error handling in JavaScript, but I just wanted to briefly introduce it now because this is the primary use of the Typeof operator. Long story short, don't stress about it too much. We will be visiting this again later on in the course. So let's take a look at the Typeof operator in action. Looking at our EasyJet webpage, I'm trying to enter my name in the mobile number section. Mobile number is expecting a number type. And you can see we're getting back this message, please enter a valid telephone number. The logic handling this would look like this. If type of mobile number does not strictly equal a number, console.log, please enter a valid telephone number. So using the Typeof operator here allows us to perform some quick checks and is a safe way to ensure no errors are thrown in our program. Now, once again, I really wouldn't worry too much about the Typeof operator right now. Just know that because JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, we have this special operator which just tells us the type of value a variable is holding. And its main use case comes up later in a more advanced topic, error handling. So let's wrap up by building a summary card, the Typeof operator. The Typeof operator returns the data type of a value or variable as a string. For example, let's say we have the variable age equals 34. Type of age gives us the string number. If we have the variable name equals the string Dan, if we do type of name, we get back the string string. If we have let admin equals true, and we do type of admin, we'll get back the string Boolean. The main use case of the Typeof operator is it helps prevent errors by checking the type of a variable without accessing its value. We saw we could do something like this. We would use the Typeof operator to see if the value is equal to undefined. Now we did this because if we just try to check if the value of address is the primitive value undefined, this resulted in an error. So this is a safer way of doing it because it prevents us actually having to access the value. Now, I did mention this kind of technique is part of a more advanced topic, but I did just want to show you the main use case of the Typeof operator. If you've enjoyed this style of teaching and are looking at mastering JavaScript, you can join me in my JavaScript full course, which is available for free on my channel. The course is designed for complete beginners and covers everything you need to know to code JavaScript at a professional level. In the course, you'll experience the same high-quality teaching and build a whole range of real-life projects from scratch. Join me today and also make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop with new releases. See you in the JavaScript full course.